2.5 billion people live on this planet, this place called Earth.
With global integration and interdependence increasing, communicable diseases have greater opportunities to spread across continents with much greater speed. And in disaster situations, the right aid must come swiftly and in the right amounts to countries thrown into chaos, where thousands are quickly displaced from their homes and their loved ones. Proper inventory management can change the tide for many nations struggling with complex epidemics or disasters, both naturally and human-made. No one has to tell you the importance of what you do. In your country, in your town, you can see the impact of HIV/AIDS, TB, malaria, worms, and respiratory illnesses. Globally, an estimated 1 million people die from malaria each year, many of them children. In some areas, about 1 in 50 people will go blind before they are 40 years old from preventable infections. It is these situations that compel us to prepare distribution systems to adequately respond to both the short and long-term needs of the world's population. But no single government or aid organization can meet the needs of so many people. Therefore, we must each do our part where our expertise lies and where our partners need us to help. The supply chain management field includes all types of professionals, from the manufacturers of medicines to shipping experts, inventory specialists, pharmacists, nurses, and doctors. The field of distribution management in particular is increasingly recognized as a critical piece in the healthcare puzzle. The demand for trained professionals like you is growing rapidly. Whether at the pharmacy counter, the warehouse, or health facility, you have a lead role to play on this global team.
Some entertainment, sir. Specially recommended.
Thank you. Don't mind if I do.
Good evening, Agent Rex. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, will be to infiltrate leading medical suppliers at the highest level. Once there, you will have to ensure that the right supplies get to the right people in the right amount and at the right time. Your role will be to plan for secure intelligent distribution, to track stock, to report utilization, and promote rational prescribing and use. Remember, Agent Rex, the world needs you.
The system will self-destruct in 3 seconds.
The challenge. Our mission is to ensure that a steady supply of medicines and medical supplies is available. Too often, patients face critical conditions or illnesses. Many patients cannot afford to pay for the hospitalization or the supplies required to treat them. HIV/AIDS patient care complicates inventory management even further, although the principles in fact remain the same for any product. Increasingly, key medicines and supplies are being donated or heavily reduced in price by some of the world's leading institutions, pharmaceutical companies, and their non-profit partners. These global partnerships increase the visibility and recognition you have as a professional. Unfortunately, in countries where many essential medicines are in short supply and incomes are low, lack of staff, misuse, and sometimes theft can disable even the best systems. People's lives depend on having a regular, reliable source of health supplies, which is where you, the pharmacist, the storekeeper, and healthcare professional come in. You are the most important partners in medicine and medical supply systems. Your supervisors, governments, donor companies, and most of all your patients count on you to make sure that the supplies reach the people that need them the most. From receiving, storage, and security right through to dispensing, attention to standard stock control practices is essential. However, there are some basic inventory rules that should be followed at all times. These principles will be covered again in any inventory training course you attend. Ordering is the first step of any system. Most professionals use a structured, detailed system to maintain ideal stock levels. An important note is that this stock may come from various sources, and the order is then usually compiled at your national level. Regular, accurate ordering helps coordinators know how much you typically need and when. As you know, even when your paperwork is complete and filed, it may still take another month for the order to get processed, and up to 3 months or even more for the product to reach you. This is why it is good to always have several months of buffer stock, particularly if this tends to be your situation. Sometimes the order is placed internationally and bulk shipments are flown in or arrive by ship. Ensure that you build these time delays into your ordering process.
You know, if people only knew the delays that are caused by their lack of care and procedure, the huge amount of desperately needed medical supplies that lose shelf life by sitting at a border post or ports of entry because the paperwork was sloppily done. If I could ask one thing, it would be to please think about your patients. Do the paperwork correctly the first time.
Now, these are the critical documents needed to move most products smoothly through customs. 1. Packing list. 2. Ocean bill of lading or airways bill. 3. Certificate of analysis for medicines. 4. Letter of donation if applicable or a bank letter of credit. 5. Any other government issued tax exempt documentation. And 6. Pre-inspection documents if required. Typically though, this customs clearing function is managed by a clearing agent or an organization's central coordinator.
If this is the first time that you're importing a drug or any product, the first thing I would do is to work with the exporter. They have a good knowledge of how that product is going to be shipped, what the valuations are, what the processes are. If they're using major express carriers, if, for example, it's a small package, the express carriers like DHL, like FedEx, know how to negotiate the import process. If it's a larger type transaction, then I would suggest that you work with a local broker or freight forwarder in your country. They are the best skilled at negotiating this process. They know the documents, they know the type of transactions, they know the declarations that have to be made in order to enable that process to happen.
I just wish the healthcare professionals wouldn't think of us as a never-ending supply of product. If they don't order it, we can't supply it. It's as simple as that.
After the product has arrived at the central stores or your main supply warehouse, they will then send the appropriate amount of supplies onto each facility, using your usual distribution system. When delivery vehicles arrive, trucks should be locked and sealed. If they are not, make a note and report that back to the Central Medical Supplies. Count the cartons received, making sure that they are unopened and securely sealed, which is even more important. If there is a shortage or damage to the delivery, make a note of it and insist that the driver sign the receipt voucher as well. Check to make sure that the product has sufficient dating before expiry. Practice first expiry, first out. That is, first dispensing the medicines with the shortest shelf life remaining, and arrange them on the shelves accordingly. Reputable product providers follow the World Health Organization guidelines, shipping product to any country with at least 12 months shelf life. By the time it reaches its final destination, however, it may have much less dating. So, you need to place orders with that in mind.
You should see the way some professionals store their medicines. It's a disgrace. I don't think you'd believe it. You'd think they were actually trying to harm their patients instead of treating them.
Storage is very important for medical supplies and medical products. In order for them to be effective, you have to ensure that they're kept in the conditions which will guarantee that those qualities. For example, if products need to be kept under refrigeration, that has to be assured. Products should not be exposed to extreme heat. The quality and cleanliness of the area is also important. You don't want product that's stored in an area where it can be exposed to rodents or any other type of contaminant to the base product.
If you have the storage space, we recommend that you order safety stock that covers half the expected amount used during your order period. But always keep in mind the expiry date of stock in hand and stock on order. Or, in general, 3 months of safety stock is recommended, especially if transportation in your area is unreliable. Stockouts cause unnecessary suffering and can shorten lives. A key point to remember: everything flows from the order period, including buffer stock, lead times, and minimum stock levels. Drugs sometimes require cold chain environments to maintain low temperatures for sensitive agents. However, many medicines don't need refrigeration. They should, however, generally never be stored over 50 degrees Celsius, but rather more moderately below 30 degrees. This helps prevent the active ingredient from cooking and losing its effectiveness. Most medicines should not be exposed to direct sunlight, which significantly reduces shelf life. To avoid damage from water and to control pests, supplies should be kept off the ground. Keep products away from food and pesticides. Make sure products are kept separate, including medicines for internal versus external or outpatient use, donated products versus those for sale. More frequently, medicines and supplies are being introduced that are restricted for particular populations, either for the very poor or those with specific needs. You may be asked to keep these supplies separate from those for paying patients or for general use. Mixing the stock without proper tracking will make it very difficult for your central coordinator to obtain continued, lower price supplies for those patients most in need. Medical supplies such as syringes, needles, or sutures should always be kept in sterile packaging.
Just goes back to the old adage, carefully read the manual first. Some amazingly expensive equipment sits in a corner completely useless because no one bothered to read the manual and find out just simply how it works. Well, the manual was missing when the equipment arrived.
First thing when you get a new piece of equipment is to understand what that piece of equipment really is about. And to do that, you have to read the manual and understand, for example, its power requirements, its operating requirements, how it has to be stored, how it has to be handled. You make an investment in this equipment, you want to make sure that you can utilize it properly and that the patients or people that it's serving will be able to benefit by its correct use.
Machines and other medical equipment should always come with the proper user manuals and voltage for your country and facility. Often, it is far better to reject an offer of equipment if it doesn't come with these 2 key items before it even gets to your country.
The horror story that I saw several years ago in Central Asia, we were doing an assessment of a hospital. Another organization had donated a high-tech piece of equipment. As we tour through the hospital, they take me through the locked door. What was behind that door was a piece of equipment that they couldn't maintain, so it had stopped working years ago. They still kept this shiny piece of equipment as an award or a status symbol, but it sat only in a locked room. unable to be used, and of no value to patients.
Drug containers should be kept closed and the stockroom locked or carefully monitored by designated staff at all times. Because of the huge demand for medical supplies, and often for their monetary value, special security procedures must be followed to prevent theft. This is especially important when these supplies are being targeted by people who cannot afford to buy them. If this medicine is not available to them at the right time and for free, they may go without life-saving treatment. Security levels vary depending on the type of supplies involved. Habit-forming products, such as narcotics, should be kept under lock and key. In many countries, these drugs are usually called high schedule. For example, most HIV/AIDS medicines are considered high schedule, as are narcotics, requiring secure lockable rooms or cabinets. In fact, any practical lockable heavy container is better than nothing. When dispensing directly to patients, it's very important to remember that poor patients have to often make difficult choices. It may be tempting to sell some of her medicine to help buy food for her children, but understanding how vitally important each dose is will help ease that temptation. So, it is very important that the dispensing professional clearly explains that they must take all the medicine that they are given and that they must not stop taking it, even if they feel better. Otherwise, they will find themselves either sicker or even dying.
You might just say it's bad luck, but the one prescription you don't check will quite possibly be the one that ends up harming your patient. As a healthcare professional, you have to constantly be vigilant.
Make certain that the prescriptions you receive from doctors or certified nurses indicates the correct amount of medicine. In the pharmacy, if you see prescriptions that do not seem to make sense, either in quantity, diagnosis, or differ greatly from the protocol indicated on the package, please double-check with the doctor or report repeated use to your hospital authority and ask for clarification.
You know that giving your patient expired medicine is just a total waste of time. You might as well not even bother. The drug is now useless and the patient can pay for it with his life. People need to think about that seriously.
All medicines and other perishable health supplies should be managed following the first expiry, first out, or FAFO system, so that losses due to expiration can be avoided. It's as simple as distributing the stock with the earliest expiration date first, unless they're already expired, in which case they must be destroyed.
I'm so sick. Have you got anything to help me?
Excuse me. Hi, do you mind? Excuse me.
To the rescue!
Please help me.
Keeping storage organized by FAFO is simple but requires regular attention.
Order now!
Paperwork is not fun, but neither is dying. Do you really want to have to tell your patients, sorry, but I hate paperwork, so you'll just have to suffer? Didn't think so. Be professional. Please just do the paperwork.
Paperwork really isn't fun and is often the lowest of priorities for busy professionals. However, accurate information is critical, not only to your program coordinator, but also to all of your patients. In fact, accurate record keeping Supply tracking and reporting is the only way to sustain essential medical stock and to ensure that the right amount of supplies flows easily and regularly to the people who need them. The patient registry or the stock card system at your facility is the most important step in this cycle. Filling it out will help, as it is critical to track the day-to-day use of the product. Make sure to note the batch number and patient information. Any special program, such as donation, if it is required. Note the prescription number, date, and prescribing doctor. Then finally, the amount dispensed. If your health facility does not use this particular type of patient registry, make sure that the normal stock card system or ledger for reordering is kept updated at all times. Keeping up to date on the inventory and conducting frequent physical stock counts is a quality management practice. But apart from that, you need to do it diligently, as you may also be visited without notice by the auditors. In collaboration with the local officials and independent auditors, ministries of health and donors periodically audit inventory to make sure stock usage matches documented patient treatments. Physical counts of your inventory will allow you to monitor discrepancies before officials arrive, as well as prevent theft or even catch the culprits.
I'll never understand why people assume the product will not be delayed.
If you live in an emerging country or somewhere far away in a remote place, always assume it will be held up.
Be ahead of the delay before it happens. Then you won't have to panic afterwards, and your patients won't have to suffer either.
Supply chains vary greatly, and delays are common in many countries. Stockouts can be avoided by placing your orders at regular intervals. More frequent physical counts of inventory often help identify when stocks are low. Bin or stock cards can typically tell you how much is being used and how quickly. If you have less than half of the amount you need on the shelves for that order period, think about placing an order immediately and possibly even increasing your order. Don't wait until you are nearly out of stock before reordering. Make sure you have enough stock to cover the time between reordering and delivery. Always use your normal stock card or computerized process to manage your inventory. Gaps in reporting slow the entire process down and will delay your replenishment.
There are 5 pieces of data that we ask for, and they are all vital. In fact, healthcare professionals need to make them a priority all the time, not just when reordering.
If a facility does not send in a report or purchase order on time, then the coordinators have only 2 choices. They can either estimate the facility's needs, which may be much more or much less than is needed, or they can just not send any stock at all. Clearly, neither of these is a good option.
So when you do your job, think about make it easier for the next person so that they enjoy what they are doing. They don't have to come back and stress and have pressure because you didn't do your job. They have to do their job and your job.
So, follow your standard stock management procedures carefully, properly, and on time. Make sure you order enough from the central stores to fill your maximum stock level. When submitting your reorder, there are typically 5 pieces of data to provide. A note: remember that losses and adjustments can include anything that is damaged, destroyed, expired, or missing. So first, the description of the item either being reported on or reordered. Secondly, record the amount dispensed to patients. Then, the amount of stock remaining on hand. Record the amount damaged, destroyed, or lost in the registry. If you don't have a specific column for this, then note the amount as you would a regular dispensed entry. Note the cause of the loss and the date. Make sure the amount of expired product is recorded according to your specific protocol and be certain to dispose of it correctly. Finally, Sometimes the disease indication is requested or just simply the number of patients treated.
Expired medicine isn't just expired, it's actually lost its effectiveness and it must be treated as such.
Expired medicine is a tragedy for everyone and requires additional resources to destroy it. This situation is typically a result of overstock and may be fixed by recalculating the maximum stock levels needed based on your average monthly consumption over the most recent 3 to 6 month period. Also, check the buffer stock levels, which should be about half of the order period and no more. Expired product must be taken off the shelves and disposed of safely according to local regulations. Remember to always record expired product in your register book or stock card system. Talking of disposing, used needles require special treatment such as those indicated by universal precautions.
The lesser known fact about injections in the developing world is that WHO estimates 16 billion annual injections in the developing world. 40% of them are administered with reused devices, meaning syringes that have already been used to inject one patient is used on another patient. And this causes a global burden of disease that is totally preventable.
The thing is, if you see someone misusing or stealing medicines and you don't report it, you're actually helping them to commit the crime.
One final topic. If you suspect that supplies are being diverted for other uses, please report your suspicions to the appropriate supervisor. If you see something, say something immediately. Don't wait. But remember, your personal safety comes first. If you have to, call the authorities or someone whom you know is not involved, including the manufacturer or a trusted charitable organization.
Real professionals constantly check themselves. Why? Because they want to make sure that they aren't getting sloppy in any area. This means that they're taking their profession seriously.
So let's review our key principles. When ordering, make sure you provide all the data required. Keep a safety stock on hand in case there's a delay in delivering supplies. Follow first expiry, first out. Track whether supplies are used for restricted programs and check questionable prescriptions against the protocols. Keep good records and don't forget the 5 data items. The first 4 are essential. These are good items to consistently track for any health stock system because they help healthcare professionals make the right decisions for their patients. Finally, if you suspect that donated medicines are being diverted, report it to the proper authorities. The global supply chain team and ultimately the patients are all depending on you.
We must never forget why we do this and who we're doing it for. It should be a calling. It's a privilege. It's not just a job.